priceless, fossil that, he's got somewhere on a case and trying to knock it on the floor. So, it's a full-time job, not to mention all the writing he has to do at that same time with the cats. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit here too, is his latest book in the Kronos Rising series, Purgatory. This one, it pretty much it's got a little bit of, it's an action-packed book. I mean, there's not a lot of the rest. I was looking at some of the reviews, and one person was like, "Oh my God, there's so much in this that and you got tons of 5-star reviews." So that's really great. I mean, it was just released on the 11th, so this is brand new, and we were lucky to get him back on. So without further ado, Max Hawthorne, it's right now. Maybe.
Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right. Justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, Austin, Chris, how are you guys?
Wonderful. Vacation mode.
Yeah, Austin's in vacation mode, and he looks like he just got out of him. Like I said before the show, I said it looks like he just got the pineapple fields.
I'm ready for my vacation.
His UCF Hawaiian shirt. Now, does it come standard with it minus the sleeves, or is that a custom alteration on your own?
Custom alteration. I can't remember if I did it before Mom's wedding or after. Probably after, but it's a lot more comfortable. I'll tell you that.
Nice. Oh, yes. So, hey, at this time, let's bring on Max Hawthorne. How are you, sir?
Chubbier than I should be. How are you?
Aren't we all? Yeah. It's good, man. It's like I was saying in the promo, man. You're getting some pretty good reviews on that book already.
Well, it's yeah.
It's a talent. It's a curse I must bear. That I can write. Yeah. But no, I mean, for anybody that doesn't follow, you can go on Facebook. You can follow. He's got many. Just type in Max Hawthorne. There's several from groups and pages, everything to do from Kronos Rising. Several ways you can find them. You can also go to kronosrising.com or maxhawthorne.com. It takes you to the same place and get you right there, and that's going to give him get your information. He's on Twitter. He's on, I believe, Instagram too, right?
Max Hawthorne author.
Yep. And so I just want to make sure I didn't miss that one. I think I'm not sure if we got he hasn't got his dancing videos down yet, so I'm not sure if he's on TikTok.
No.
Not yet.
No dancing. No.
But if one of those, I think you could probably, with TikTok, you could probably even do some of the ones like when you go out with your fishing trips, and also going through and talking about the artifacts and stuff that you find, the fossils and stuff, because that's one of the things. If people go on Facebook, they're going to see a ton of those things. You have giveaways that you do for people, and contests and stuff. And I mean, it's pretty cool seeing some of the stuff that you have. I mean, that's got to be a borderline museum you have there in the office, in the case, as long as the cats stay off of it.
Pretty much. Well, it's under lock and key. But I do actually have a video of from a fishing trip from Florida a couple years back where I accidentally hooked an alligator. And, yeah, there was this. It was a popular bass lake down there, and there was this big gator. And these guys in Florida, they like to use large golden shiners, or like bait fish, sometimes a foot long. So this big gator would follow the boats around and then try and steal the bait fish that they threw in the water. Problem is it gets more and more aggressive, and then sometimes it starts maybe even targeting people, whatever the case. So this gator stole like a couple of our fish, and then it like got one, and it got hooked. So now I ended up like fighting this gator for like a few minutes straight, trying to get the hook out, because you don't want 50-pound braid with a gator swimming around with like 30 or 40 feet of line out of its mouth. If it gets around his neck, he's going to die basically. But fortunately, he did like a death roll, and the hook popped out. But it's a pretty cool video. I could post it.
Yeah, oh no, that would be awesome. Yeah, because that's one down here. I mean, we just had family here, and we took them up to Popka Lake, just north of us here in Winter Garden, and I wanted to get them to where they could see a gator. It didn't disappoint. I mean, I think within the first 10 minutes they saw over 50.
Did you do that drive-through I was telling you about?
Yeah, going around the ground. Yeah, I just took them up there, and so we got in there because they close at 3.
Mm-hmm.
They close the gate. No more traffic. Then you have to be out by 5. So we got there. We left the house at 2:30, and we came. It was like that America's Tire commercial where the guy comes screaming in and dives under the gate. I mean, we basically come tearing in the gravel, just right through the gate, right as the guy wants to shut it. So we got in.
You need to go around, like the time you went during a thunderstorm, you could see all across the plains, all the lightning coming. It's awesome. It really is.
So now, when your latest book here. So, what was the process to deciding what to do with the protagonist? I'm trying not to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it. So
yeah, it's not just that though. I worry about people that haven't even read like all the books prior.
Yeah.
So basically, Kronos Rising Kraken Volume 3 ended in dramatic fashion, and at the end of the story, other than the main story, there was like a subplot going on. And the hero of the very, very first book in the series, who has appeared back, I'm trying to see how I'm going to describe this. He ends up stranded on Diablo Caldera, which is this Cretaceous era island where the pliosaurs in the book and all these other prehistoric marine creatures and such have been imprisoned since the fall of the dinosaurs. So Jake ends up stranded there in a submersible, which is now out of gas, and he's been stowed aboard, and his arch enemy, his nemesis, the scientist named Eric Grayson, is there. Grayson doesn't know Jake's on board, comes out, finds himself in hell, because this place is dangerous. I mean, there's dinosaurs, there's all sorts of stuff there. I actually invented for the series raptors, like you see in Jurassic World and other movies and such, the ones that actually run on water.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that'd be like your safe thing. It's just like, oh, screw it. They're on water now.
Yeah, there's no escape. Like if you could be in a boat, like, a mile from shore, and then they're in there with you, and so forth and so on. I mean, these creatures have evolved predominantly to prey on fish, which is why most of their inhabitant is a lake and very little jungle. But still, they're raptors and they're quite dangerous. But so all this is going on, and now so you have this hero in this place, and there was an epilogue in Kraken 3, and it left everybody hanging, which I like to do. I'm sorry. I did resolve all the main, I mean, come on. You got to keep them wanting more, You don't just, whatever. But so in the epilogue, Jake is on this island, Diablo Caldera, there, and he's pursuing his nemesis into the jungle with the intention of killing him as slowly and painfully as possible. And I don't want to spoil the reasons why he wants this to happen, or he's going to do this, because if you haven't read the other books, it's a major spoiler. On this island, there are hundreds of these creatures called Homosauridae, which basically means like man lizard or something. And these are people that have been experimented on and have been partially turned into their DNA has been infected with pliosaur DNA, and they've mutated into like man reptiles. And there's hundreds of them. They don't speak. They're mindless, slavering monsters that eat people. Literally, they kill a guy in one of the other books where they drag him down, rip his stomach open, and start eating his intestines while he's still alive. That's how they are. And there's a lot of them. So they're going to want, they want to kill and eat Jake also. So now Jake finds himself at the end of the story he's ready to confront these creatures. He's got a sword, he's got some firearms, but at the same time, he's one very powerful entity, but he's surrounded, or will be surrounded, by an army of these things. Then he's got his nemesis with him. So the story starts off basically from where it left off in Kraken 3, which people really like, because everybody wanted to know what happened next. I had a lot of people, comments, questions on social media. Was he killed? Did he survive? Yeah, that's a spoiler right there. That's Jake. So Jake's no longer human either. Okay,
no,
let's just get that out there.
I went with that one just because that was a published photo. So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Oh, and that's one of the river raptors behind him.
Yep.
But so basically,
you put that one out there, so I figured you were okay with that.
No, you're not. I deserve that. But so then I don't have to worry about spoilers now. But so Jake is this very this.
I just didn't want to say how he became it. And that's why I was like, I'm trying to avoid that part of the spoiler.
Yeah, that's true. That's yeah. So now we have it where this is a pitched fight for survival that goes on through 100+ pages in the novella, where he's being attacked repeatedly by these creatures. It's a running fight for survival. Obviously, you don't want to repeat stuff, so I made it very interesting in terms of changes of scenario, locations, what actually took place, etc. You want to mix things up. You got to keep it interesting. You got to keep it real for people, and you got to keep it true to your surroundings. Like Jake is hungry. He hasn't eaten in a long time, and he needs food. And there's no protein around. These saurian creatures have stripped the island, a lot of it, in the jungles. He passes a big tarantula the size of a dinner plate on a tree, walks by, snatches it up, pops it in his mouth, starts chewing. That's So you basically obviously let people know that this species of spider lives there, and at the same time that this character is going to do anything he needs to survive. And anybody who can grab a foot-wide spider and shove it in their mouth alive and start chewing is a pretty tough customer. So it all learns the story.
I was going to ask too, because this is now. How many more books do you envision? Is this close? Are you think you're nearing the end of at least this series, part of the chapter? Like it might branch into something else, or do you think you still have a few more?
I can do as many as I want. Honestly.
Well, of course. I mean, you are.
But literally, I have enough stories. My brain constantly churns out ideas for novels, for novellas. Long, short, etc., and not just Kronos Rising related stuff. Although I like to try and keep everything in the same universe if possible. I just finished a great horror thriller I wrote, and screenplay, etc., which is totally unrelated. But that doesn't stop me from doing Kronos Rising stuff. And there's so much going on with these characters and so many ideas, etc. I could write 3 or 5 more full-length novels easily if I want to, or a bunch of shorter ones. It depends. It depends on mood and time, and what the public wants.
Yeah, I know. Like a lot of authors, it's one of those. I think I asked you the last time you were on too. Do you know the ending? Yourself. Do you already have that in mind? Like this is the end game. This is where ultimately this ends, or is it just one of those things where I'm just, the story is coming to me as I go, as it goes, and I've seen it branch off, and I'm just following it until I feel like it's reached its end.
If I'm going to draw the entire series to a conclusion, then yes, I know basically who's going to be around for the story, who's going to survive, who's not. Your characters are all going to die. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but your favorite character will.
There's usually a high death toll in these things, but and yes, but along the way, that could be an experience that takes several years in the lives of the principal characters, or what's going on in the world around them, etc. And in between that, there's so much that can be explored with supporting characters, other things, other subplots going on at the same time, etc. People want to know about these characters. When they like your work, they get attached to the characters. There's been a couple of main characters who were killed, and people were very upset about that. I had people send me cursing and comments and messages and all sorts of stuff like that. And people who said they were so upset they threw the book on the floor, didn't pick it up for 3 months. some couple guys said they cried, which is, I respect that. Yeah, it takes, what they say, Goulions to, come out for a man to say, I cried from a book and all. So, they like your characters. And if there's other aspects of the characters that they can see, like minor characters that they like, that you don't have time to, you can't explore everybody's story in a novel. I mean, if you jam your novels full of minor characters, too many characters, it just gets bogged down.
Yeah.
People are like, who's that? Who's this? Who's that? You get. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I think it's like a badge of honor, to have people that passionate about your book that, it's like, just because you write, I mean, you did a great job when they're like screaming at you, like you can hear them through the pages and chucking it across the room.
Does that inspire you? Does that inspire you to keep the story going more further? Because people like, I cried. How does it make you feel that people really indulge in your work? Does that inspire you to keep coming up with new topics and keep your novel going?
Well, it's incredibly flattering. Obviously, it's like you breathe life into a non-existent, theoretical entity. I mean, honestly, this person isn't, based on anybody in real life. They're totally a figment of your imagination, but that imagination is materialized enough through the written word that people know this character. They can relate to this character, respect this character, like this character. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has their flaws, but they're along for the ride. And if that character dies, however bravely or horribly, with his boots on, people are going to be upset because sometimes you think a character is indestructible. They can't die. They're like the principal character, and that's how you trick people sometimes. I hate to say it, but when I did that in the Kraken series early on, I ran two main plots parallel with several subplots in addition to that. So you're like really like keeping pie plates up in the air. And so the people are like, oh no, he's the main character. No, he's the main character. And the one they thought was the stronger character, what did not end up being the main character, because the other character's arc carried him along and he emerged as the more prominent protagonist, to use a little alliteration, so to speak. But it does inspire you. People like your stuff, but I make it a point to always try and, like, even minor characters, you want them to be interesting enough that people, you don't have to say a ton of stuff about them, but you drop a few points, what somebody thinks or knows about them, in the narrative, that type of thing, and just make them interesting with their personality enough that people are like, yeah, I like this guy. I'd buy him a beer, no problem. We would hang, play some darts in a bar, whatever. Seems like a great guy, and they look forward to, what's up, Mark? To seeing what that character is going to do. And it's enough that you get them also vested in the character that they think, okay, because I know enough about this character, he's safe. And that's not how it works. George R.R. Martin should have taught people that. You see?
Oh, yeah.
You want people, just because you get attached to one of my characters doesn't mean that they're not going to die if the plot calls for it, for maximum impact or something like that. It's not like a sadistic thing, like, who can I kill next? And ha, 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 ha. I've seen a funny meme that says, what does it say? It was a pie chart. And it said something like why characters die, and the little sliver said something like it was necessary for the plot to carry the plot along, maximum emotional importation for the readers, etc. And the big chunk of it, like 95% of it, says Max beep hates my guts and whatever, and wants to see me cry, something like that.
Yeah. No, all I've known from it, like when you're writing, it's like if Austin and Chris don't read books. And so if you can write something that keeps their attention and they actually read it, I go, It
was good. I only read the first one. But yeah, it was amazing. To the end, I was plotting the end, and it was completely opposite what I thought. I was like, oh, nice twist. I love the twist. All right.
Awesome.
Did you cry? Did you tear up, Austin? Did you cry?
I don't remember. It's been about 2 years.
So, did you like the part where Amara Takagi was being threatened and roughed up by that sadistic merc, and then when he went to put her down, she kneed him in the you-know-whats real hard?
Yes, it was. I don't remember I cried. It was emotional, but it was good.
There was a good line for her. She really needed more to regain some power after
Yes.
being subjected to a potential death threat from this, and
Yeah.
she was like, wham, and then she said something like, called him, can I say shit on this show?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
We said
She called him shit breath or whatever, or stuff like
Yeah.
that. And seeing little things like that, right away now this guy has really bad breath. See?
Yep.
Boom. You don't have to
Everything.
say, and his breath is like could kill a mongoose or something like that. You just have a comment and an insult, and boom, there it's established.
You can just picture it.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah. No.
I don't know these people, so I don't know why I'm saying hi to them.
Oh, they like. Yeah. No. That was one of those things. Like when you describe those things, and you do the other thing. It's like the thing about Max's books. For people that read them, I go, you're going to get a great story, but I'm telling you, you're going to, it's like, basically the best way I can describe it, it's like reading a Star Wars book and Chewbacca dies in every book. There's some character where he takes out the one that you love, and you're like, seriously? Them? Why couldn't they make it to the next book? Why did they have to go?
It's been a while, but it's like
it was
Game
their
of
time.
Thrones,
Yeah.
In the beginning of Game of Thrones, when all the main characters are dying off every episode, you're like,
he's the king of the north, and he's dead.
He's the king, he's dead.
Yep.
Here's this, they're dead. Like, oh
Yep.
shit.
Promoted to the captain of the ship, and he just got eaten. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Well, I got to tell you, there was one character that would have made it at the end of the very first novel. He didn't, simply because the submersible only seated 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, I designed these things. They only have 2 seats. I'm like, he's gone. I was like, besides, it'll shock people, upset people, and everything like that, and add more emotion. And it did.
Well, it's it's one of those. I think if we're talking about the original book, I think we're beyond the spoiler alert. But it's just with the first mate, it made the story. I mean, that was one of the things. It was just one of those. You hated to see it happen, but it was one of those things that just, without it just feels like one of those movies where they don't know how to wrap it up, and it just ends up with just this cheesy ending, and you're just like, seriously, that's the end of the story. It's like The Fifth Element. You go through there and you find out that the fifth element is love, and you're like, God, this is like that stupid character on Captain Planet where his power is heart. I'm like, you're like, seriously, everybody else has got these cool things. What are you? Heart. You're like, wow, you drew the short straw. Yeah,
I can relate to that from personal experience too.
But
I'm trying to think if I should say it or not. Nah, that's okay. Moving right along.
Yeah, there was just, every book is like this one. I even saw, like, for this latest one, for Purgatory, I saw one of the reviews. I saw one, it was like, said 1 star. I'm like, who's giving his book a 1 star? And it was this lady. She was like, oh my God, it was so much. It's like, it was too much. It was too much. It's like, why did this happen to happen? It's like, and I'm like, because apparently you haven't read Max Hawthorne's books. This is what happens.
I saw that review. Okay. In fact, I you know what? I'm going to probably do a blog post on it. I'm gonna call it Reviewing the Reviewer. Okay, it's very interesting.
I like it.
See, I was accosted earlier that day on social media by some a-hole. You know who you are if you're watching this. Okay, but anyway, and among other things he said, which I say screen and stuff, he threatened me. Okay, not physically. He was like, "I'm going to destroy you as an author" and stuff like that. Okay, this type of stuff. And later that day, this woman posts that review. And interestingly enough, she didn't buy the book. And since the book's only available in Kindle right now, how did she possibly review it? You see? Which means somebody had to either give her their copy, loan her their copy, okay, or tell her points about the story. And then when you read her review, okay, and she's a piece of work, let me tell you, it becomes so obvious that she does not know what she's talking about. Okay, seriously, she's talking all this bullshit. Okay, like first she goes, "Oh, it was well edited. I only found one typo, which which
swam.
Yeah, which was an arguable thing." I'm like, you could stick your past participle up your you know what, okay? Because that is. And first of all, and there are typos in there which were found recently, okay, which she didn't get, real typos. So if she'd read the whole book, obviously she'd know that. But she was petty enough to just look for something like that to try and put it out there. Then she talks all this crap about Jake and how he tortured this poor guy, knowing he was going to die and all this other stuff. If you knew the background of the character, okay, if you'd read the other books, honestly, if you'd read the other books like you claim to, oh, these books are so great, and the other ones, that if it wasn't for them, I could keep reading. The woman hasn't reviewed any of the other books. So she's a liar, and she doesn't know the story, because if she knew who and what Grayson is, what he's done, all the people he's killed. I mean, we're talking, this guy's responsible for a global pandemic that's taken the lives of millions of people already. He's experimented on thousands of people, turned them into nightmarish creatures, ruined their lives, their families' lives, etc. And his ultimate goal is to exterminate through a plague 99.999% of the planet. He's insane. And the person, Jake, he turned into a monster, murdered his wife, and imprisoned him in a dungeon for 10 years and forced him to eat people. So if you'd read the books, or even read enough of that book, see, the novella, you'd know enough that you wouldn't talk like that. So that woman is full of crap. Okay.
I knew you were going to be passionate about it too, because I was just like, this one just, I'd be like, it's just the way you put it, it's just like, I've not read the other Kronos books and knew their worth. And I'm like, that's why. You got to read them.
And I was like, and the timing between this imbecile threatening me on social media and stuff, and then this review appearing later. There was even 2 attempts to put these 2-star reviews on there. The other one was a rating, but I think it faded out because you have to buy the book for the rating to stick.
Yeah.
See? So, but that one, this person hasn't read the book. Okay, that was a hatchet job, pure and simple. And I strongly suspect, or I find it very curious, let's put it that way, that the timing with this other imbecile, those 2 and 2, it just seems very bit of a coincidence to me, in my humble opinion. And of course, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Yeah, I really liked the one where one of the best reviews on it too is, he summed it up pretty good. Jurassic Park meets World War Z.
That's actually appropriate, because World War Z, the scariest part for me was those zombies just coming at you like tidal waves, and fast. There was no escaping them. I mean, they were like all over you. You couldn't get away. And as soon as you're bitten in, 12 seconds, you're one of them.
Yeah, you just watch them. It's like biting. All of a sudden, they just start, and then they're off to run, because most of the time it's just a lumbering zombie. Here, these ones are super fast, Usain Bolt speed, chasing after you. And I said, I think one of the best scenes in that movie too was North Korea. They didn't really come out and say it was, but it was up there in North Korea when they were trying to get the plane. It was at night and they're on the bicycles. Yeah, it's just, and that was the stuff. But yeah, this one, like I said, I thought you did an amazing job on this book, sir.
Thank you. I mean, you try. You got to keep, when you're writing an action thriller. And somebody taught me this a long time ago. The most important thing is you have to maintain the action. You have to keep it going. And that's a big challenge. See, you can't let things die down, etc. And there was a lot to tell in this story. I actually cropped out a lot of stuff, honestly, to streamline it and stuff. Otherwise, it could have gone on a lot longer. But you don't want to get people tired of it. You know what I mean? You want to give them enough that they're interested and they keep going. But at the same time, you don't want to go to the well too many times.
Well, that's just it. And I think that's one of the things, like for the story making, it's just one of those, you hate to see them go, but it's like if you keep things the same, there's only just so many times, the protagonist can survive another attack and survive these things. It just gets to where it's not really believable. And when the protagonist basically, keeps changing, like you said, the way you wrote it, it's like, well, you said, this is the main character. No, it's not. This is the main character. You keep things, it keeps you straight, in a different way. Was that a duck call from your phone? I'm like, all of a sudden I hear quacking, and I'm like, what the heck?
It is definitely not my phone. It must have been
awesome.
His. He had to get
it was Austin. Yeah, you just started laughing. I'm just all of a sudden I hear quacking. I'm like, oh my God.
That's actually embarrassing a little bit.
It's fantastic. It's what it is. No, it's so. One of the questions we didn't really get into, like the last couple times you're on here, and I wanted to get to this too. What got you so passionate about just the fossils? in the collecting? I mean, because I know it's part of the story. You know, you got the pliosaurs, you got these things, but what generated that passion for this? Because I mean, you're beyond just like, yeah, I got a tooth over there. I mean, you have some museum quality pieces in your house. I mean, I'm surprised. There was one. I mean, that one you showed. I mean, it was just fantastic. I think it was the tooth. Was it the tooth? Is that the one that was the? There's one of them where you had it, and it was just. I was shocked. I was like, oh my god, because it was like, you know, I've got a, you know, it was kind of like breaking news. You know, I've got one of these things. I'm going to show it here later. I'm trying to remember which one it was now, because that's how many he has. I can't remember which one it is.
I don't know. I have a lot, but
yeah.
I mean, this goes back to my dad. He actually, before he passed, he had given me a bunch of his museum pieces as well. But he was always a rock hound and a collector. So you know, that kind of comes like, you know, apple not far from the tree type thing, etc. So yeah, I mean, it's a hobby, but it's also become. I ended up doing this indie paleontologist thing and doing research and even a formal paper on some stuff and solving mysteries about plesiosaurs and how they swam and why they had long necks and all this stuff. So but it all started, I guess, mostly with the writing and the research I did for the books and for the creatures in the books. You know, like when I wrote Kronos Rising, the first novel, like I had to base my knowledge of how plesiosaurs swam with those 4 flippers, base it on what was known at the time, the known data, theories, and that type of stuff. So I read up on everything that was available, and I incorporated that into the story. But by the time I think Kraken 1 came along, I had figured out on my own that some of that stuff was wrong, and that they did not swim that way. And so I adjusted it in the books, obviously, for that purpose. So.
Yeah, I've got. I was going to try while you were talking there. I was trying to bring up a picture so people could see if they. Yeah, kind of like that one there. It's got the 4 flippers.
Economy size pliosaur. That's about the size of the one in book 1.
Yep. Yeah, and even that in that one was just. I mean, it was like Jaws on steroids. You know, just how that thing came about. I mean, that was pretty cool. I mean, because I was. You know, one of the things. I mean, if since I've been following you since we first had you on the show, you've had some people where I don't understand it. I mean, you're not coming at it from a sensationalist. I'm trying to sell a book aspect. You're actually coming at it from the scientific thing. It's like, no, I really think this is how it is. And you've had some few people that, I mean, they've clapped back hard. I mean, you know, just they've gone after you like, you know, what does this shuckster know? You know, and I'm like, he's actually researched these things. I mean, it's not like he's just making some claim just because, hey, this will get my name in the papers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's not about that. It's about trying to get information out there. I've done a lot of like megalodon research, for example, and I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at or. Yeah,
it's kind of like those where it's just because you just clap, you know, they clap back. It's like there's no way. I think it was like about the size, and they're like, there's absolutely no way it could ever have been this size.
Oh, you mean like, pliosaurs or the sharks?
Well, the thing is the pliosaurs and the sharks. You've had a couple ones where there was a couple guys where, I mean, you've just had, I mean, they were just flat out just nasty in their attack.
Yeah, they're childish.
Yeah,
that's what there's to it. If you get these guys that, for example, that are what they call megalodon fanboys, those are the ones doing it. And they, in my opinion, they're trying to like make that their shark is the top predator. Like if you're a T-Rex versus Spino fan or something like that type of thing. And so they don't want, like, if any little evidence came along that would make their shark look bigger and badder, then they would be all over it. But any evidence that comes along that makes the competition look bigger and badder, they don't like that. See?
Yep.
But I mean, there's a paleontologist out there named Eberhard Frey. He's a doctor of paleontology from Germany, and he examined a pliosaur skeletal remains in Mexico. And this animal was pretty sizable, I think 40, 45 feet long. It had died from being bitten in the head by much larger pliosaur. And if you looked at the remains in his paper, a formal paper that's peer reviewed on this, and he said that the one tooth puncture that had gone through the skull meant that the attacker had tooth crowns. That's the exposed part of the teeth, so not the root, okay, that were at least 12 inches in length. So now think about that. That means a pliosaur with 12-inch teeth. Okay. And the animal that was killed that was at least 40 feet long had only 5.5-inch teeth, the larger tooth crowns. So obviously, if a tooth is 5.5 inches and indicates a 40-foot animal, a tooth that is 12 inches obviously indicates a much bigger animal, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's simple. I mean, it's not like they, the number of teeth in their skulls does not shrink. Oh, it's just instead of having 30 teeth in each jaw, now there's only 20 and they're just bigger. No, that's not how it works. There's enough evidence out there to show that. So when you take an animal that has 12-inch teeth, it's got to be a giant. That's all there is to it. And there's a lot of fragmentary evidence out there that shows pliosaurs got very, very big. The size of
yeah, I was trying to find a picture of that tooth. I mean, I think the one I found is a fake one.
Now, you won't find a picture of the tooth because he based it on punctures in the skull that were made by teeth. See?
So yeah, okay, so that good thing, this picture was like, here it is, and they're like, how to spot a fake. I'm like, I think that's a fake one.
Yeah, I mean, I personally own pliosaur vertebrae, like neck vertebrae, that beyond a shadow of a doubt show they reach at least 50 feet in length, and that's just the way it is. I have them in my display case. One of them is that big. Okay, no joke. So
wow,
yeah, I mean, there were some beasts out there. But, people can complain all they want. At the end of the day, these are novels. But, when I put out theories on stuff, I base it on actual evidence, whether it's my evidence or somebody else's evidence, etc.
Well, there's
I know a lot of stuff.
Your other book, the one I've got back, the Marine, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. I think I got that right. I hope I did. It's just that looking. That one, it's the same way. That one's based off facts, in the stories, as opposed, and it's not the fiction. And that's one of the things that's really cool. And it's just, and that's the part I like. It's somebody that can take, because that's that new genre. I mean, that really just the faction, where you actually take factual stuff and then you can craft it. You're going to be able to, the look of, evil in its eyes. I mean, it's like, okay, there's no way you can know if, pliosaur could change its expression because, obviously we don't have one, but it was one of those you could really, those are the parts that I like, but it's based off your thing. I mean, you can compare it in size. Like you said, if you have one that's 50 feet long, your little fishing vessel doesn't stand much of a chance. Mm-hmm. It's going to tear that up. And that's where I liked about the stories. I mean, it was that part was just right in sync.
Well, Monsters and Marine Mysteries, like you said, was more like a cryptid research book.
Mm-hmm.
That covered everything from, there's chapters there on mega sharks, and I was able to crunch the size or potential size of sharks, alive today based on bite marks that have been measured on whales and whale sharks and things of that nature. And the evidence was very, very compelling. I mean, in my opinion, and I was as conservative as possible when I investigated that stuff. Like I used there are multiple formulas out there by a elasmobranchiologist where you can crunch the numbers and estimate the size of a shark based on how wide the bite is. And I used all of them. And some of them were giving me huge numbers. And I was like, that can't be right. So I went with the one that gave me the most conservative, the smallest size for it. And based on that, for example, that suggested that white sharks do hit 26 or more feet in length. But then there were other anomalies out there where there were a whale shark that had a 4-foot bite scar on its side. And that looked like it was only maybe a year or two old. Now, I mean, a shark that leaves a bite mark 4 feet across could be 42 feet long. So, yeah, it's all in there.
Yeah, you talked about, the picture. I'm going to show it here right now, too. And it's one of those things. What, like in your opinion, too, because you've talked about it in that. So here's a picture of the 1969 sea monster sighting. So really, realistically, like in your opinion, with so little exploration done of the oceans and stuff, what is a possibility that something like this or, these larger creatures could actually still exist and not, because a lot of the biggest clapback is like, we would see something, we'd see whale chunks, coming to the surface, we would see evidence of these things, but you're getting some of these sightings and, there's no there's no explanation of what it is. I mean, I'm trying that submarine evidence that they caught, where it was it the sound that they captured, and it was I can't remember what they called this. I mean, I can look it up while we're talking, but it was an anomaly that they caught out there during the research, and it was the same thing. It was just, this thing isn't a submarine. This isn't a ship. This is something else, and it's massive.
I don't know, but the image there is a drawing I did to match a still from the footage that was filmed by a fisherman named Gary LaMotta in 1969. He saw, and his friend saw, Earl, two different boats, a 38-foot turtle, and he described the neck and head sticking out of the water was 8 feet long. So if you compare the size of the diver to the drawing, you'll see that what 8 feet of head and neck looks like. I mean, Gary passed away, but I interviewed Earl, video interviewed him, in fact, and recorded it for posterity when I was writing Monsters and Marine Mysteries, and he was right there. And he saw this thing. It was sitting on a reef right under their boat. It was literally as big as his boat, which was 38 feet long. And he said at first glance he thought it was a sea lion, then realized it wasn't. It was this ginormous, pale, like almost white turtle, but very lean. It didn't have a shell, and it had large flippers in the front, small ones in the back, distinctive turtle head, etc., and all that. And then it just took off incredibly fast. But I mean, I spoke to an eyewitness, got all the details, etc. And that Super 8 footage, even though it's highly deteriorated, once you've seen an enhanced frame or two and you know what you're looking at, you can watch that footage and you can see this is this enormous turtle, and its head and neck is sticking up out of the water, and it's looking around as turtles are known to do. And it even turns at one point right towards Gary when he was filming it, which is a little disconcerting considering the size of this animal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it must be a fish eater. I mean, it was there for the salmon run and such, but so I mean, that's pretty good evidence that you've got some sort of species of very, very large, very fast swimming turtle out there that probably doesn't have to come ashore to lay its eggs. It's probably too big and heavy to do that, and it's adapted like mosasaurs and ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs did to give birth to live young. It just has eggs that have very thin shells, and they just are expelled into the water, and the young just tear through the membrane, and they're there. They're hatched.
Yeah. Well, because even then, it's just like, for something that size, an offspring is not going to be that tiny. I mean, you're talking, probably newborn is probably going to be at least 6 to 8 feet.
For a turtle, not if you think about it, turtles are pretty small compared to the adults. They lay a bunch of eggs. I don't know how it would apply to something that was a live birther, but if the adult was 38 feet long, I would expect an offspring that might be a yard in length.
So 3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, curled up inside the shell or the membrane, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So, because obviously, like with the exposure, people's like, well, we've decided. I'm like, I don't think people, sometimes realize how big and vast the oceans are. Because you can even take like Google Earth, which is easy for you rotate it, and at one point, all you see is the Pacific Ocean. You don't see any land. You just see, here's this round ball of nothing but blue, and just a couple islands. I mean, so just the idea that something is quite possible that these things could be swimming around, and you would be rare to see it. I mean, most people, you're going to take the story of an island fisherman that saw something, you're just be like, guys just being superstitious.
Well, there's been historically a lot of sightings. I'm sorry, Chris.
There's, a good impression of how big the ocean is. Like when you actually take a cruise, like some people who's never been on a cruise, like you could just sit on the deck at night and just watch all that, and it just makes you imagine what could possibly be out there that humans doesn't know about. And I'm like, that is crazy. Like the ocean is really big.
It's true. I think they've only explored 5% of the ocean floor, and that doesn't include the average of 11,000 or so feet of water above it. So the possibilities, and then you have the deep water, obviously, the abyssal regions, etc.
There's a view.
There's literally millions of cubic miles of water. Millions.
Yeah, it's because that's New Zealand. That's right there in Australia, and you can just see it's just the idea that something couldn't be just evading this. pretty, it'd be pretty easy to do. I mean, you could have something like this, 38 feet in that vast space. I mean, it'd be real easy to avoid being seen. You could have several of them out there.
You wouldn't see them much anyway, if you think about it. I mean, how often are you out at sea and you see a turtle? Yet there are tens of thousands of them out there. I mean, they just, a large animal like that, they don't, when marine reptiles come to the surface, they don't blow like a whale. There's not this loud explosion of water vapor that comes up with this 20-foot cone of spray, etc. And water vapor. Reptiles like crocodiles and turtles, and I've observed them, literally physically observed them, and footage, etc. They just come to the surface and they quietly spew bubbles, and then they take their quiet breath, and then they continue. So when you see something like that pops up, it's only going to be there for a second. It's not sticking around. And then from a distance, what's it going to look like? Probably a whale.
Yeah, I mean, something, when you've just got the head up there, I mean, it's like what, 6-8 feet, maybe somewhere in there. I mean, that's going to be really hard to spot.
But they don't even stick their whole head up normally when they breathe. All that comes up are the nostrils and the crown of the head. That's it. They only stick their heads up when they're looking around for some reason. And in this case, I think it was looking around because it saw the boat and it just wanted to see what it was, But I mean, normally turtles don't do that a lot. So I mean, you would not expect I mean, they've found a new species of killer whale recently, which obviously we know orcas are fairly large. They found new species of beaked whales, which are also fairly large, and the size range practically of this turtle. I mean, that's a lot easier to spot than something I mean, I think a turtle like that would be much less common as a predator.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense. I mean, because we just now started getting more evidence of the giant squid, and that was always a rumor. And I think I like that one. I believe you talked about that in that book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries, too, is where most likely like the stories that came about the sea monsters were the giant squid attacking the whaling vessels because obviously it smells like this floating piece of food. It's just so covered in all the whale fat and guts. I mean, it's basically you're just a floating bait ship. So of course something's going to attack it.
Well, there's a couple of documented instances of squid attacking sailing vessels. Those are all in Monsters and Marine Mysteries, actually. There's one recent one, where a squid nailed a trimaran, one of those racing vessels that has 3 slim hulls. And I'm not sure which race it was. It's been a while. It's all in the book. But and it's a sailing vessel. It's powered by sail. And this trimaran's chugging along, and all of a sudden, this huge squid comes up and grabs the rudder region of the vessel and is like slowing it down to the point they're like almost stopping. And they look out there through the porthole, and the captain said he saw a squid with arms as thick as his leg. Now in the book, I put photos in there of like a 19-foot squid, and its arms are like this thick. So now think about that. If your like leg is this thick, see what I'm saying? And he's described it as being, I think he said 8 or 9 meters. I believe that was the mantle, the body of it. See? So, I mean, then you'd have your arms in addition to that, which would be another 8 meters or 9 meters. So now you're up to like an 18-meter animal. And then you've got those long feeding tentacles that shoot out right there. But I believe this squid misinterpreted his trimaran as a trio of finback whales or blue whales, and it came up looking for a meal. That's why it grabbed the rudder, because they go for the tail to immobilize the whale and then drag it down, drown it, and eat it, feed on it. I'm not going to eat the whole thing, but they'll eat a percentage. And there's proof that squid prey on whales, because there was a documented incident, which is also in the book, where a right whale, a mother right whale and her calf were attacked by squid that killed the calf. She couldn't stop it and took it. It was witnessed. I witnessed the whole thing. So, I mean, it happens. You just figure scale it up. Bigger squid, bigger prey. Can
you imagine the beak on that thing?
I wouldn't want to see that coming at me. There's a lot of ways to die in this world. Being eaten alive by a squid would not be on my top 10.
Just have this giant thing the size of your couch just chomping down. It's like, God. Yeah, so what is life like for you there in the office? I mean, like I said, you said you spend a lot of time, like the cats, like I said, I always joke around because you're usually showing the picture. The cats are usually everywhere where they don't need them to be, at the right time.
Well, I mean, the walls are decorated with monstrous fish. You can see some of them there. At least that wall is, and such. I mean, there's, it's an office. It's almost like a man cave. There's a nice poster on this side that Ray Harryhausen signed for me years back. There's the original painting for one of the promotional things for Kronos Rising, the girl hugging the pliosaur. There's some signed movie posters from friends of mine. There's tribal masks. There's fossils. There's all sorts of stuff. But it's a comfortable place. I hide in my cave and I do my work. There's worse things, and it's good because as a dad, it kind of works out nicely. I mean, I'm able to drive my daughter to school and pick her up at the bus, so forth. So
now, do you get recognized while you're doing that too, or do you kind of stay in a spot where you're a little more laid back, where most people are just like, they're like, they think you're famous, but they don't really know. So because you always have that, dropping names where it's kind of the New England thing where there's always the authors, and you're like, yeah, walk around here, go to the coffee shop, you'll probably see an author somewhere around there grabbing the drink.
Pretty low key. Most people don't know who I am. I think authors only become really famous if you're Michael Crichton, and you're on TV a lot, or if you're Stephen King and you put yourself in all your movies.
Yeah.
And then there's no missing it. I mean, cameos, Rule the Day, Stan Lee, that type of stuff. But I don't think I'd want to be like so well known where I mean, only a couple times in my life have I been somewhere and somebody was like, at first they didn't even know it was me. Like I had like a Kronos Rising shirt on at a museum, and this guy was like, "Oh my God, I just started reading that book. It is fantastic. I love it. Blah 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 blah. It's so great. This and that. Are you a fan?" I said, "Yeah, guess so. Yeah, I'm his biggest fan." He goes, "You are?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm him."
That's awesome.
But he was like, "What?" But so, it's not like your face isn't on the cover of the book. It's way in the back, and then you got sunglasses on, and people don't recognize you, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's what, when we first started this, that was one of the things we're like, how cool is it going to be? Just one of those times we're just walking by. It's like, hey, aren't you on the, that'll be cool. I mean, it'd just be nice just to have that somebody just point that out. I mean, it'd be, I wonder just if there's a lot of people that have started because you've been doing this for so long. If you're getting more and more where, like down here in Disney World when you took your trip, if anybody is recognizing you.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty humble.
Although next time you come down here, you gotta call me. You were literally 5 miles from my house. 5 miles from my house, and I'm like, when you're like, yeah, I headed back. I'm like, I could have driven there. It takes me 10 minutes. I could have been there literally 10 minutes.
I don't keep track of where everybody lives and stuff.
Yeah, I watch the Disney World fireworks every night. They're right outside my house. You just hear them. So So next time you're down, you've got to call us. I said,
just you or all the guys?
Well, I'll let them know. I'll let everybody know that you're here. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I say about 20 minutes from Craig, so 15, 20 minutes. I mean, so
yeah,
and you guys are treating, right?
Yeah, it's McDonald's is on us, man.
Nice. Wait. Can I biggie size? Right.
Yes. I super can size all you want.
All right.
And we might even get a shake if the ice cream machine's not broke.
I will go bougie enough that I won't buy the buy one get one free deal. I will just pay for it outright.
And then I show up there and Craig's like, he'll have a Happy Meal.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, no, it would be one of those, just because Disney Springs, there's lots of restaurants. I mean, like I said, we could meet up at one of those places too. Because I said next time you guys are down, because that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, because we have there. I mean, it's just one of those things too. Especially if you're going to be down here for a while. I mean, Austin's really into it. I mean, it's just we go fishing. Maybe on one of those things. Actually go out on a thing and just actually watch the man in action as he lands that giant grouper right in front of us. It's all we catch is catfish.
My back is so bad right now. Let me tell you. And the only grouper I'll be having will be at the supermarket, and it'll be filleted already. All right. And what happened to Austin?
I'm not sure.
It was that that duck or whatever that quack.
I think it
Maybe
was.
the-
I think it was.
Maybe the giant sea duck got him quack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to take it. There's one place that's I don't know if you know how far around there. It's over on the Gulf side around Tampa and Clearwater. It's Frenchie's Cafe. That's one of the things they're known for is their grouper. They have these grouper sandwiches and they're really good.
I think I've been there and had them actually. Actually, I think I had the nuggets. It has a nice view of the water from where you're sitting.
Yep.
Yeah, I've literally been there after catching Goliath grouper in that area. Then, but went there. But you do have to keep in mind, I am, at the mercy of, my wife scheduling stuff. You understand?
Oh yeah.
So,
Sound about
it's-
like mine.
Well, if we can pencil ourselves in, I mean, just give it. If we can even pencil in like a 45-minute block, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I try and like squeeze in like some fishing. Like I'll book a charter, like a bass charter or something like that. That type of thing. But I mean, where we are, it's more kid oriented.
Yeah.
Orlando, that type of stuff, etc. So there's not a lot around there. Like saltwater's pretty far.
Yeah, they freak out if you start fishing after you get off Finding Nemo. Nemo and friends. When you get out there and you throw a pole in there, they start to freak out.
Oh, I went on the Disney cruise. Did some phenomenal shark fishing on there.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was incredible. In the Caribbean, they have reef sharks there sometimes 12 feet long, and they're voracious. I mean, all you got to do, honestly, is when you're reeling up a reef fish, if you don't crank like a maniac, you're going to get hit by a shark. It's going to eat your fish in seconds. Seriously, in seconds. And then once the guys found out that I could handle shark fishing, they put a wire leader on there, and it was on. But I mean, we're talking you're using like 30-pound or 40-pound test spinning tackle against sharks that weigh hundreds of pounds. I mean, it was like these long battles, and sooner or later, they don't have like long leaders that can stop the shark's fins and skin from abrading the line. You'll fight a shark for 20 minutes, and then pow, the line cuts. And you're like, ugh.
Yep.
Only managed to bring one to the boat and release it, and it was only about as big as me. But but it was cool. Non-stop action. I mean, highly recommended.
Yeah, the closest thing I got was a bonnet head, and I fought that thing, and it was a massive thing that was the size of this tablet.
I have pictures of me with one. It was a couple of feet.
Oh
long.
my god!
Yeah, it's like a tiny little hammerhead,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It felt like it's like fight. It's like, oh my god, this has got to be a monster. I finally got a bigger fish than because I'm normally catching those stupid kitty fish. Those barbs. I mean, when it felt like it went straight into my soul, it dug its barb into my finger. I'm like, instant reaction. It's just, but yeah, you pull this thing out, and here's, I got the kids on the beach were all excited, but
Wait,
here's this.
It says, "I'm him. Too funny. That person Max met." I'm not sure about that. The name is just let Maxie mention that he's Aries on his Facebook page before my first account got hacked.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, that was exciting. I mean, I just you see all these legends like that. I think that's a tarpon behind you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
7 feet long. Took 65 minutes.
Have you ever been swordfish? Have you ever been sail fishing?
No, I have a bucket list, but it gets tougher. As you get older to get out there as much. Once you settle down and you have children and stuff, the opportunities are. Once my daughter's a little older and I'm have a little more free time, I guess you say I'll be out a lot. So.
And it'll be one of those things. I mean, definitely it's just, but yeah, when you guys, I know you're down here every now and then, it's just like, yeah, please reach out. Because like I said, I'd love to meet you in person.
It would be my pleasure. If I can do it, I will. Okay.
If I need to, I'll beg and plead, with the wife, can I please have a few minutes of Max's time to at least say hello?
Oh wait, your wife or mine?
Yours. I'll beg yours if I have to.
She'll probably be like, "Oh, you can have him," because we're all going out doing this, and I'll be like, "What? What?" We also have friends from the UK that are flying in the next time we go that will be hanging.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, great people.
Yeah, there's. You said, talking. A lot of people don't know this. I mean, if you've never been there, next time you're down there at Disney Springs, you got to try Raglan Road. It's an Irish bar. pub bar. It really, really great food.
I'm not sure. I mean, I get dragged so many places I don't keep
Yeah,
track.
it's
Of, you know,
yeah, it's one of those, especially if they're coming from the UK. It'll be this is one. It's
and
great,
I'll
great
get
food.
get to do my British accent a little bit, while they're here and stuff, and make a fool out of myself, or I could do the Brooklyn accent. Oh my God, the other day I was torturing my daughter because we were going to her orthodontist, and I was like, hey, should I do my no, she said, you did your Brooklyn accent on that interview yesterday. I said, oh yeah, forget about it. She goes, yeah, but you always do the same stuff. Is that all you know? I'm like, are you kidding? I could talk like this all day long. You have no idea. I said, you hurt my feelings that you said that. Now, when I get into the orthodontist, I'm going to walk right up with you and I'm going to say, hey, how you doing? It's my kid. She's here for the orthodontist. And the person's going to go, you mean orthodontist? Yeah, orthodontist. Hey, you're really smart. You know that? Forget about it. You're going to go places. All right, yeah, so take care of her, okay? And she's like, you're not going to do that. You will drive me. I will kill you, whatever. All this. I said, I think you need to apologize to me for hurting my feelings then. And she's like, fine, I'm sorry. So we walk in, and as we walk up to the to the check-in, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Again, she's like, oh, like stuff. I said, just kidding.
How you doing?
Yeah. Like I literally sang that accent in a song that's on YouTube like last year. It was like the Jingle Bells, the Mafia version of Jingle Bells.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the lyrics and then I actually sang it myself. It didn't become a big hit, okay, but it was seen by a lot of people and all that, but it was tough singing with the accent. Oh my God.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, because you can't maintain it while singing for a long time to really get the inflections and stuff. So I had to do it line by line and then have them splice it together. Otherwise, your throat starts to hurt after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Did you ever try to do that when, because I always get them right now, and I've had a couple the last few days, and I've had fun screwing with them. You get those scammers. The ones that are calling, I got the best one I got was it was the DEA Border Security Patrol police that had a package for me that was $90,000 of cash and drugs. Does this belong to you? I'm like, it does now. That sounds like a party. Like, send it here. They're like, are you aware of this packages in your names? And I'm like, oh, I had a blast. So I can only imagine, especially like with your ability to come up with story. What do you do if you get something like that called? Because with the accents,
he's got the mob accent down. He could have killed.
That's a great idea. I got to do that one too. That is awesome.
So you have the package?
No, I haven't done that one yet. But I mean, I've done like when you work from home. This is my office. You get these calls. You get them on your cell sometimes, but more on the landline. The do not call list, doesn't obviously work and stuff. And you got to feel bad for people getting harassed, or worse, if they fall for the BS that these people put out, because they're all con men and they're scum. So I have no respect for them. And my dealings, I mean, it varies. Like I have, for example, I have a thing set up in my office where I push a button which hangs up on them and blocks them from that point forward. But before I do that, I'll have like my Alexa, and I'll say to her like, Alexa, fire photon torpedoes.
Captain, firing photon torpedoes.
And then I hang up on them. I push the button and I flush them. Okay,
that's fantastic.
Any one of those Amazon Alexas will do that for you. Okay, but I mean, sometimes I just like it varies. I've used my kid's fart gun on them, and I just I put them on speaker and I just keep pulling the trigger, and they keep trying to talk, I guess, and stuff. And this one woman who was trying to pitch me about some stocks or my retirement accounts or I don't know what, and I'm like, I pretended I was in the bathroom. Literally, I took the speakerphone into the powder room, so I wanted the acoustics. Okay, and I'm in there, and I've got the fart gun, and I'm like, "Who is this?" And she's like, "So and so." I'm like, "Yeah, how you doing?" I'm like that. I'm like, "I'm so glad you called. I really." Like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. What were you saying? Yeah, and I'm like, wait, hold on. And I just keep doing it, And she puts me on speaker for the whole place. It's a boiler room. Okay, and you hear, would you listen to this? like that. And they hear it, and you hear 100 guys in the background that are all calling and scamming people, trying to, and they all burst out laughing at the same time, and then then she hangs up on me. Okay, but one time recently, I did something that required some acting, and I can't take credit for it. I saw it like on a meme or something like that on Facebook or somewhere like that. But you can see it says like spam like that. So I answer the phone, and I go, as I answer it, I go, it's done now, but there's blood everywhere.
I see that one.
And I wait, and I'm like, hello? And then I go, who is this? Like that. And then click, they hang up real quick like that. And the person's like, oh my God, somebody just murdered someone, and they think that I'm the other. They don't, they just hang up on me, and stuff. And then I'm sitting there cracking up, and I go back to work.
I think you can pull this one off too, because I saw one where the guy pretended he was a crime scene investigator. He was like, who's this? I go, you just called an active murder scene. How did you know the deceased? And they just go just grilling them. It's like, no, I'm going to need you to come down to the station right now, because I need to know why why you're calling an active murder scene. What do you know? Who did it? Just grilling them, and the person's freaking out.
Yeah. You have to be careful. You don't want to be accused of impersonating an officer or anything like that. Like scammers that call up and pretend to be raising money for the police department and stuff like that.
They by law, they can kind of call you if they ask for this different name. You'd be like, I'm calling with the Florida Highway Patrol. Is Dan there? He's like, no, Dan. Well, maybe you can help. No, I can't.
Yep. Yeah. I asked the guy one time, because he has this deep voice, and he tries to intimidate people. And that's how they try and scare people into giving you their credit card info.
Yep.
Okay, that's their scam. And I said, are you a cop? And he's like, what? I said, a police officer. You said you represent blah. And he's like, oh, no. We're just raising money for. I said, because I got a lot of family and friends on the job, and they told me that they don't solicit people for money. I'm like, where are you at? This type of thing. Who you with? What are you doing? Whatever. Hang up on you. I'm gonna do the Brooklyn thing next time.
Yeah. Well, you need to, because it's because you can clearly tell. Like, one of these guys, I think the guy said his name was like Rick Simpson or something like that, and you could clearly tell he was from India. I mean, just the thickest accent. I mean, it just, you knew exactly. He was in one of those little small rooms where there's 75 computers, and they're all talking to each other, and it was one of those. I was just having a blast, because he was the FBI, Border Patrol police, and it's fantastic. I mean, I love it when I get your Social Security card has been suspended. You need to call. I mean, I get these, and they're fun to mess with. They tell you, well, we're going to be sending the polices over and get, and you will be, you will being arrested in 4 hours unless unless you give me your information. I'm like, oh, please bring it on, please.
Oh, you came back for the last 10 seconds.
You gotta love fucking T-Mobile. I'm sorry. 35 minutes of just bullshit. So it's been fun. Lost my hat. My hair's missing. Yeah, you gotta love it.
I didn't know we were allowed to use F-bombs on this show. So
the only thing we asked is that it's not every other word, because then it's like, because it's not really all that comfortable with conversation. I mean, we had one lady. She's now in a special location, but every other word was like an F-bomb. It was just like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like Morse code talking to you. Got it. We talked something that was an interesting story all along. I mean, I don't know how much I want to get involved, say too, but yeah, she's currently behind bars. Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, forgot about her.
I'm sure there's a lot of expletives involved there too. So
yeah, it was one of those things. It's like, we actually we have the prison connection now. It's like, wow.
We need the writer from the Three Beards podcast, so everybody can read it and maybe subscribe when they get it.
Capitalizing on somebody's that's terrible. Terrible.
Is it though?
Oh my god! But yeah, no, it's one of those. It just Max, it's like you got to check this one out. I mean, there's 6 books out right now. This one, because Amazon has it listed as book 6 of 6, and that's why I said I don't know if there's if you're going to continue on, and just change it to 7 of 7, or
No, there's actually 7, but they refuse to accept Kronos Rising Diablo as part of the series because it's like a prequel.
oh, okay, so that's
So, which doesn't make sense because it kind of connects right to the story, but whatever. So they say 6 books, but there's really 7. But it's Kronos Rising on Amazon. You're going to find them all, or you go to my site and they'll all be there. Actually, they haven't put the new book on the site yet. I got to get that done.
Yeah, I'm Amazon. Why do I have to listen to the author? You only have 6 books, but I wrote it. I mean, no, you only have 6. The mighty Bezos has spoken.
So you ask Alexa to play torpedoes, and she does.
Yeah, if you say, Alexa, fire photon torpedoes.
Okay. I gotta mess with that.
Look, I'll crank it. See?
That's fantastic.
And then I hit the flush button, and it disconnects them and blocks them. So it's almost like I just blew up their ship, and then I'm moving right along, back to writing, working on my stuff, my editing, all that stuff. I'm a busy boy. It's crazy.
That's a good one.
Yeah, hairline. The ship bobs every word you'll say on gangsta. Yes, because if there's one thing when you see me, it's street. I just, you see me, and it's like, whoa, that guy is a man of the street.
What are the odds? I don't know if y'all talked about it. That Alex Kittner died today on this day. I just came across that your Facebook page.
Yes, he is terribly missed. Actually, I saw a heartwarming story like last year, I think it was, where the actor that played him owns or runs a restaurant, and a woman came in that had played his mother.
Yeah,
they hadn't seen each other since the filming, I think, and it was a really great reunion for them.
Yeah,
I think she passed away shortly after that, so it was nice that happened. Like, oh, you're getting all pruny. Just one more swim, Mom. All right.
There's how many people are going to actually just Google that to find out, that name, because they're not going to recognize it.
Mm-hmm. I shared it on a Big Shark group, and everybody saw that, and they're all like, rest in peace, and they're all serious. They're all crying and all this stuff as if somebody really died. And I'm like, you don't know who this is? And you see these comments, it's from Jaws. People are saying, da 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 da. I don't get involved, but it's like people are actually getting choked up and like this, as if this poor kid was eaten by a shark.
What's a new release? Nobody's had a chance to see it yet. It came out in 1975. God. Yeah. It's like we can't rush these things.
Spoiler.
Yep. Spoiler. Sorry, I gotta say
but
that.
What are those things too? Is, speaking of that, is there any buzz? Is there any talk, like I said, of this becoming, Hollywood? I mean, has anybody thought, reached out to you about picking up the screenwriting rights?
I can't say.
Talk about it. All right.
Forget about it. Hey,
why don't we forget about we even talked about this question?
I mean, it's not that it's as if it wasn't live,
Yeah.
But
no, I get it. It's like if one of those things, but I mean that's cool. I mean, I really think. I mean, especially at the first book. I mean, it's just talking about Jaws. I mean, this would work just as well as that does, because especially the scene with the kid on the jet ski, the boats. I said. It's just a lot of those things. I mean, that right there is made for the big screen. Actually, I mean, there's a lot of stuff they can do, just right there to really, really work. I said it would be pretty compelling, especially if you get the right person, right director behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep Ron Howard away from it, please. He changes all the characters. Do not let Ron Howard anywhere near your book, sir.
I wrote the screenplay myself for Kronos Rising, and there is some truth that, I mean, obviously this is a huge book. It's 193,000 words or something like that. So when you're trying to cram everything into 2 hours, obviously you have to trim the fat, and a lot of stuff has to go bye-bye. And then the problem is, in order for you to get the full story and this gripping piece in 2 hours, you have to change things sometimes too. So I have changed the story a bit to really make it work. I don't want to, obviously, I can't say anything about it, but I tried to stay true to as much as possible. But at the same time, there were some places where it just was really necessary to alter things in terms of like timing and circumstance and things of that nature. So, but I think people, if God willing we get to that point, will be pleased with the end result, depending on the director. I don't,
because like Ron Howard, he would take Jake and he would end up turning him into the weak aspect of the show, and it would be because of how he did with Da Vinci Code. He completely changed the character's role. It was, like I said, it was terrible. I'm like, this is nothing like the book at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, he took the female lead and made her like the one that could figure everything out. And I'm like, that's not how the story went at all. I mean, it'd basically make it to where, she would be the one that was, all involved, and Jake was the weak character, and that's if that's how he seems to do the movie. And that's why I'm like, no, Ron, no, just denied. But I'll still watch it even if he does.
I feel better now. I
know. I know that's what you're waiting for. I was waiting for Craig's approval. I wasn't going to do it until Craig said it was okay. Oh my God. Well, Max, appreciate it, man. I said best of luck with it. Yeah. Kronos Rising Purgatory. I said it definitely yep.
And it's only $2.99.
I know.
Half the price of a gallon of gas.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
And after you read it, you still have it. You
can't drive? Read the book.
There you go. There you go. I like that.
$2.
Yep.
$2.
Yep. You got something to read while you're waiting there in the gas lines for everybody to fill up. It's oh my God. But no, it's like I said, I was actually shocked when I saw that it was $2.99. I was like, I'm like, my God. I'm like, so you were not one for gouging of the prices. That is for sure. I mean, I was shocked. It makes it nice. I mean, everybody, like I said, $3. You can download it right now, one click, unless you have an Android, because Amazon does not allow you to go through the Amazon app and do the one-click buy if you have an Android through Google Play, because it's something like with Google Play's things, they don't allow you. So you actually have to go to the site and order it that way, but you can't do it through the app. It's really weird.
iPhone wins again.
And stuff, and it's just, well, if that's what you're going to hang your win on with iPhone, then hey, I'll let you go with that. I've had an iPhone for a few months, and it's like every time it's like, oh my God, I prefer Android so much more. It's so nicer. But yeah, it's enough about our which one you like. So, but tell the family hi. This man's got a talent galore. I mean, your daughter's taken right after you, man. I mean, congratulations on that. I mean, you've got to be super proud of her.
She's very talented. She's brilliant. I mean, if she doesn't get 100 on a test, which is a rarity, she's like not happy. I only got a 97. I'm like, are you okay?
You need to go get some ice cream. Are we having a bad day?
And she can draw. I mean, she's artistically talented. I mean, she's just, I'm the luckiest guy. So
yeah, congratulations on that. And like I said, just well done with the books. I mean, like I said, I'm really happy for for the success. And like I said, I really hope that people take the time, download this book, march that up the things, because it's worthwhile. I mean, it's a really good story. I mean, ignore that one hack job, review that does not count.
There's always one or two in there like that.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, I wish we had more time, because I would have read some of it on here for people and such. But I think everybody will enjoy it. It's got a good story. It's got a lot of punch. You will never be bored. The only thing is there is violence and there is some gore. Okay, so if you don't mind, like lizard men getting beheaded or disemboweled and stuff like that, or things like that, there are prehistoric creatures in there. including those raptors we talked about. It's a pretty cool story, and I think you'll like the ending. And if you're one of the, if you're a Kronos Rising reader, you're going to love the story and love the ending because it's just kind of justice served.
Yeah,
So,
that's it is fantastic. So like I said, get everybody, say it again, buy the book. I mean, $2.99. I mean, come on, it costs more to get coffee and eat coffee something at McDonald's now than $2.99.
wow.
Yeah, a large cup of coffee at McDonald's is almost $2.
Really? I don't drink coffee, so disgusting.
Yeah.
You don't drink coffee?
No, I don't. I drink tea.
I drink
Tea.
them both.
I'm Mr. T. I pity the fool who drinks coffee. Right?
Yeah. No, it's something. It's nice about drinking a nice hot cup of tea while you're reading. I do agree with that. I go, so yeah. But for work, I need something a little bit more powerful.
I think there's 4 times as much caffeine in a coffee as there is in a tea. That's the negative side of it.
Yeah.
But
so
I just can't drink. I had a bad experience as a kid with coffee, and just the smell of it. I mean, like, it's just disgusting. My characters drink coffee and all, but I know seriously, I know so little about coffee that one time in book 1, you remember when Jake's deputy brings him to kiss up some what was the coffee? Some fancy cup of coffee. It was a French vanilla.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and just
Yeah. In the first version, before a friend of mine read it, I listed it as vanilla bean, and he was like, "You don't drink coffee, do you?" And I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "You idiot! That's ice cream. You're thinking French vanilla." And I'm like, "Oh my God, is that right?" Oh, I thought because the vanilla bean, the coffee's made of beans, and I'm like an idiot. I mean, everybody has their Achilles heel, but I one time went into a 7-Eleven in Brooklyn. Forget about it. And I ordered like a large hot tea with milk and a couple of Splenda, and this person gave me coffee, and I took a sip of it right there, and I went like that all over the floor, a huge mouthful of coffee, and everybody that's waiting in line to buy coffee is like, "Oh my God, the coffee's bad. Is it poison? What's going on?" Like this and everything. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm like, are you insane?" I was like, bleh. I'm like taking like paper towels and like rubbing my tongue. I said hot tea, not coffee. Hot tea. This type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. Oh, ugh.
Yeah, Austin's kind of come around. He wasn't really a big coffee person. It was usually.
Dude, I've run across Black Rifle coffee. It's delicious.
Yeah, so
I can't even eat coffee flavored ice cream. Okay,
I'll eat espresso beans, like the chocolate covered espresso beans. They're good. Oh my God.
Now vanilla bean. If there was a coffee that was vanilla bean, I might be interested.
You might be able to try. Now it's going to be the mission. It's like, everybody, you want some press? You got to find the coffee that Max Hawthorne will drink. And if that's the case, you got something right there.
Well, now you know a little secret about me, that whole vanilla bean story and everything. See?
Yeah, no, it's that. Yeah, that's the thing. We got to find something. But no, I agree. I like them both. I like coffee and tea. They're both really good. It's one of those. It's one of those drinks. You definitely. Yeah, that mud.
Mud water.
Yeah, it's called mud. I've seen that before, and it's one. And
yes, I drink herbal tea sometimes. I'm sure Max's books aren't as graphic as Stephen King's Carrie. I've never read it, so I don't know. I've never heard of mud water. I have waded through some in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a mixture of all these vitamin and everything, and just mix it together. I mean, it almost kind of looks like the consistency, like when you're doing hot chocolate. Mm-hmm. It's what it looks like. I've never tried, but I know which one it is. So, but
thank you, Laura.
Yeah, so that's like I said,
nice people, by the way.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good community that's grown up, and I said really enjoy it. But it's had a lot of fun having you back on, sir.
As Benny Hill would say, it is an honor and a privilege.
Well, we got to get you on. I still think if we ever do one of those skit type things, I've got to have you do the Dr. Evil type thing. spin around in
Oh,
your
with the cat?
Yes, because you got the cat you basically just sitting here with the Siberian Forest Cat.
The problem is the cats don't like being on the show. The cats don't mind coming on my desk. My door is closed right now. Otherwise, you would see a giant tail, like a flag, going across at some point. I mean, that happened live on a big show, and I was like, this giant poofy thing blocking my face. And the interviewer was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, she goes, "Is that one of the cats?" She goes, "Oh my God, you've got to get that on the show. Let me see that, you know." But the cats, like, they can hear people in my earpiece because they have, cat ears and stuff. And then they see the movements and stuff, and they start getting a little weird, like something's normal and stuff. And then I got like 20 pounds of like annoyed cat, and their claws are sharp, and they want to get loose. And I'm like, ow, and that type of stuff. So they're not so domestic that I can sit there and like Dr. Evil it,
I think that would just be fantastic if you were doing that and all of a sudden it started freaking out and took off. I mean, that would just, that would just add to it. I mean, that'd be fantastic.
And then you see like my foot like sticking up like this, and then claws flying and fur and blood splatter and stuff like that. And I come back with like, one of those hold my beer moments. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, like I said, we'll have to, if we do something like that again, we'll definitely. So that'd be fun. So we'll get back to the family, sir. Like I said, appreciate it. Everybody, please go buy the book right now. One click, unless you got a Google Play. One click, go to the, then you have to go to the site, but definitely one click purchase. That's all you got to do. I did that for Chris's sake. He likes to give me a hard time about
Austin Hughes like it lets you have.
Now, you guys have a great night. I'm going to go watch anime with my kid.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, fantastic. I said, take care. We'll see you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was brought to you by Three Beards Podcast is the site. Go check that out. You can go to our merch section or go to redbubble.com, Three Beards Podcast, and you can check us out there, purchase merchandise. Thank you to everybody that's already done that for us. I mean, it means a lot. Thanks to everybody that's sent us stars tonight. That really helps us out as well. Social media, like, share, subscribe, YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're also, TikTok. Just go in there, support us there. We can go there. It's like we got to get to YouTube and we got to get to Twitter up there so we can start going live there as well. But yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. Make sure we are rebroadcast every Wednesday at 11 p.m.ish on ERRT Radio, and that's on Wednesdays. We follow Into the Outer Realms. Also, check out, check us out on patreon.com, /3 Beards Podcast. Become a Patreon supporter along with Laura Lehman Porter. She's one of our patrons. We really appreciate that. But thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. Mark Eddy will be with us. We're going to have another musical artist on with us, and we're going to be talking music, trying to get out of my comfort zone. That's not really my zone, so I'm trying to expand on that stuff. So join there. Come make fun of me as I screw up. But everybody, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Roberta, once again, Laura, Carolyn, just thank you guys, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. And thanks again to Max Hawthorne. Definitely go to maxhawthorne.com or go to kronosrising.com. You can find them both there. Has their, amazon.com is the easy way to go. Just go click and pick up that book and support him and tell him thank you. And, go give him a positive review for that stuff. And while you're there, he's got other books that are fantastic. And so you'll really enjoy them. But thanks, everybody. Have a great night. We will see you next Wednesday. Good night.